Wellness Week Live. What's up, everybody? And welcome to Wellness Week Live. I got a special treat for everybody today. DJ Anthony's interviewing the author of a great new book out called Core Truths, okay? A collection of short stories. Our resident author here on Wellness Week Live, Lisa Fox. Lisa, how are you? Thanks for making time for Wellness Week.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So, okay. Now, I have, your book caught my eye because initially I was like, oh, I see your book came out and I purchased it on Amazon. I encourage everyone else to do so also. I'm looking forward to getting it in the mail, maybe an autographed copy. I don't know. But I said, I don't know. Maybe at an initial glance, I said, I don't think there's anything that I could interview her about as it pertains to wellness and Wellness Week. I said, wait a second. As I kind of read the blurb and a little bit of the introduction, I said, wait, this book, Core Truths, that you wrote would be perfect for Wellness Week because essentially the core of it is the things that we do in life are what make us who we are. And really that's mind health, mental health. That's who we are as humans. And I said, you know what? No, her book would be great to talk about on Wellness Week. So thanks for coming. So I want to ask you, generally speaking, and I read some blurb, some stats that most Americans don't read books. They might read Twitter, they might read an article really quick, but they don't read books. And I thought that was so sad. If we're not reading, then we're not informed, and our minds aren't as strong. And I would tie that to mental health. I think if you're an avid reader, that's important for our health in many, many ways. I mean, wouldn't you concur?
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
there are different ways of reading. So, certainly nonfiction makes us more informed, more intelligent. Fiction gives us a glimpse on the human condition. And that's even more important, in some ways, just really kind of taking a look at humanity, decisions that are made, what it means to be a person.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you. So, what does reading and writing, mean to you? I mean, exactly. How does that fulfill your life, and I guess how does that become the fiber of your life? Like, what does reading and writing mean to Lisa?
Yeah, it's always been a core truth of mine. Really, always a part of who I was. I've been an avid reader since I was a kid. Back in the '80s, my aunt used to give me those Reader's Digest condensed books, and we would each sit on one side of the couch, her with one, me with the other.
Yeah.
And then started writing in elementary school, high school, college. Was always part of the literary magazine, and really always involved in that respect. So yeah, it's always been just a big part of who I am and what's important to me.
Yeah, it's funny, and again, I'm no scholar, but I always say, like, you can tell if you don't know someone and you just meet them and you talk to them for 5 or 10 minutes, you can tell if they're a reader or not. Just by how they speak, how they almost carry themselves intellectually. So yeah, for sure. Now, so for people who haven't purchased the book yet or are interested, what is Core Truths about?
Sure, that's a great question. So it is a collection of short stories. So there are 18 of them in the collection, and it is speculative fiction. And the nice thing about speculative fiction, whether it's science fiction or fantasy or magical realism, really it's designed to shine a light on the human condition, just using a backdrop of a different world or a different environment. So really the tie that binds all of these stories together is that a character within each of these stories is confronted with a challenge, an issue, a situation that kind of makes them question themselves and who they are. And, the choices that they're making in each of these stories, some of the choices might seem small, but the consequences are far reaching. And in others, the choice or the decision that they make are life and death based. And that's a big part of life, right? So a lot of the choices that we make are itty bitty at the moment. And then there are these life altering things that happen where, we're faced with a big decision that's going to change the trajectory of not only our lives, but other people's lives as well. So that's really the essence of the book. And each, like I said, each of the stories might address that in a little bit of a different way.
Right.
There's one story in there. It's called Something Rare and Beautiful. It's probably one of my favorite stories. It's a dystopian fiction story. So it's, like horrible world that people are living in. People are allotted 40 years and that's it. After 40 years, you disintegrate. That's it. And a father and a son encounter an 85-year-old woman sitting on a park bench who's not supposed to exist. So their moral dilemma is, do I report her? B, do we just keep walking and pretend like she's not there? Or C, do we actually engage with this person who's sitting there? And the child in the story, he's like a 5-year-old boy. And he's just like, Daddy, can we please go talk to her? Can we please go talk to her? And the father's like, all right, fine. And of course, he's looking over his head, are the drones going to come and shoot me down now? But it's kind of a beautiful moment that they have with this woman. And she, I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but basically at the end of it, this father's realizing what a critical act of rebellion that he and his son have both just engaged in. And he's hoping that the son will carry this forward and maybe change the world with it.
Yeah.
So tiny decision, far-reaching consequences, and other stories in the collection. There's a very short one. It's a microfiction story about a vampire who really wants to just see the sunrise.
Yeah.
And, does he defy what the ancient teachings are? Does he take that risk to have that moment of self-fulfillment or not?
Right.
So there are, like I said, there are 18 of them, all different characters, all different types of circumstances, but really kind of coming back to that same one bit of, here's a choice that I'm making.
Right.
This can define who I am and what happens to me.
Right. A lot of parables, a lot of parallels also to our own lives. Actually, when I hear you talk about and describe it, I'm like, wow, yeah. And I think, you hit on something. I mean, I think sometimes we forget life is not these, and it can be sometimes these big life and death decisions, but more often than not, they're granular. They're tiny little millimeters that can make and break us down the line, So that's very interesting, about that. And I'm sure, not to make it doom and gloom, but when you talk about the 85-year-old woman on the park bench and this dystopia where the drones are, I'm like, oh boy, that sounds eerily similar to what's happening or slowly happening to us. And, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? But, okay. So now what made you want to, though, write this type of book, though? What drew you to this, type of genre or theme?
Yeah, you know what? I've always gravitated towards speculative fiction. A lot of my favorite writers growing up, Stephen King, Anne Rice. What I always loved about them is they built these amazing, wonderful, wondrous, strange worlds and these characters that were just so engaging from the start, to the conflicts that were built. And I just, with my own writing, that's always where I've gone. I mean, I read a lot of different genres. Like I love Jodi Picoult, for instance, who is like not a speculative fiction writer at all. But a lot of my own writing tends to go in that direction. And I think it's because, you can really dig deep, without, I hate to use this term, but without being cliche.
Right.
And it's also just the world you can paint. There are so many different things you can do with metaphor, for instance, in terms of establishing a conflict and just, what that particular set of characters is up against.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and again, reading the descriptions of your book and hearing you talk about it too. Right. I see so many parallels with not only my life, and I think readers will get that, that will bury, 100%. That readers will kind of almost look at a mirror and say, oh my God, yes, I had something that happened like to me like that or like this. And, you talk about the vampire story. Obviously it's a metaphor for, our own lives, right? Doing things that maybe we shouldn't do. Not that they're illegal, but maybe our friends might look down on us because we didn't, or our parents might not be happy because we chose to go into this major and that not that major. And but these are all those things that we have, these vampire moments or these things that we struggle with. So in your book you talk about in these pivotal moments. What, without getting too revealing about your life or my life, but what has been one moment or moments in your life that have been pivotal for you where, Lisa did this and not that, and not that it's a right or wrong, but what's been a pivotal moment or two in your life?
Yeah, I mean, obviously so many, but you kind of going back to some of those like small things that set you off in a trajectory. So as I mentioned, I was writing, elementary school, high school, college, and then I stopped writing for a good 20 years or so.
Right.
Life kind of got in the way, other things became priority, and I just didn't do it anymore. And
Right.
I came rapidly careening to 40, midlife crisis, and started thinking about, well, what are the things that have made me happy in my life?
Right.
So I joined a women's softball team. I love playing softball. It's really kind of funny, randomly scrolling Facebook one day, and I happened upon a Facebook ad, which I never click ever, ever, which is so funny because I have a Facebook ad out right now, but that's a whole other story.
That's right.
So I see this ad for this writing competition called NYC Midnight, and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks interesting. I want to start writing again. And there I went, click. And I was like, okay. So this is 2016, signed up for this writing competition, and it changed everything.
That one little click.
Just a click, just a random, let me look at this Facebook ad that I never click on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and since then, I've done more contests than I can count. I have made friends all over the world that I talk to daily. Other writers, like-minded people, amazing, wonderful people, really good friends. And I've got good 150 short stories, short screenplays under my belt from that point on, and a book.
Yeah. I mean, and going back to what I was saying, I think sometimes, we forget that. I think more often than not, that's what makes our lives, are these little moments, and they add up, and then they become, wow, you look back and it's just like, life is very rarely do we have like, this is the moment, life. And I mean, that can happen, but I think more often,
it does.
Yeah. But the day to day of our lives and what makes us us and what makes us special and unique is those right. Should I click or not? Or should I say yes or no to this or whatever? Maybe talk to this person. So let me ask you this. Do you subscribe to Destiny?
Yes,
you do.
I do. And I'll caveat that. So I do think you wind up where you're supposed to be. I do think you wind up where you're supposed to be. I think you wind up with who you're supposed to be with. I think all of that. I do believe eventually you get there, whether, it's path A, path B, or path C. Eventually you find your way to where you're supposed to be. However, I do think that in addition to destiny, there is also an accountability to that. So, like I said, I saw that ad, right? What happens if I don't click on it? What happens if I don't take that step? Do I see another ad like 2 months from now for a different contest, for a different thing that maybe I click on? So my point is, I think there is a sense of destiny. You kind of end up where you're supposed to end up. However, I think to get to that destiny and to perhaps get to that destiny faster, if you will, there is that level of like, let me take that leap of faith in order to get to that destiny. I mean, I knew I always wanted to be a writer. The definition of writer for me has changed over the years. I'm not a best-selling author. I'm a short story writer, but I am a writer. And, looking at that ad and looking at that, this is something I think I want to do again.
Yeah.
And then I clicked.
So I'm going to throw this phrase at you and you tell me what you think. Okay. Character is destiny. Lisa says what to that?
Character is destiny. I think character is intertwined with destiny. Absolutely. I mean, you do bad things in life, you can end up in jail. There's your destiny. You do good things in life. You're rewarded in a variety of different ways. You go for what you want. You are a go-getter. You say, here's my goal. This is what I would like. This is what I want to be. You can just sit there and wait for it to happen. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't happen. But if that is the destiny you are aiming for, the nature of your character, I think does determine what that destiny happens to be.
Right.
I think they are very much intertwined.
Right. And not to go down this rabbit hole. So do you believe in free will or?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then, it's funny. I just read Steven Adler's biography. He's the drummer of Guns N' Roses, or the original drummer. Talk about destiny. I'm reading this book. I'm like, this guy did everything in his power to sabotage his success. I'm like, I almost threw his book out the window. I'm like, talk about stepping in crap. I mean, this guy did almost nothing to help himself, and he just kept on succeeding. I'm just like, I can't believe this guy. But I had to pull myself back and say, he did show up. I mean, he didn't just you know, he learned how to play drums, took him years. So,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes I think people think like destiny, like, oh, Michael Jordan, yeah, LeBron James, they're just great because, you know, they woke up one day and destiny, like, you got to do a little bit, you got to show up. I mean, you got to put a little work
Yep.
into it.
You
You
got
know,
to
like
put the
you
work
said,
into it.
pro or
Absolutely.
con. I mean, yeah. So, okay. Now, so let me ask you in this closing question, I guess, you know, you talk about our core truths in your book and in our lives and how that molds us, and you know, things that can make us pivot left or right, up or down. So, can we find, as you see it, can we find the truth about ourselves just by ourselves, or do we need others to, you know, be a counterbalance or a mirror to us? Like, what do you think? Like, how would one find truth, do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I think being self-aware is probably the first part of it. I think there are people who they, for whatever reason, you know, the truth is right here, but they just don't want to see it. And they put on blinders and they can go through their entire life, you know, with blinders on, eyes closed. Nope, nope, nope. This is not who I am. This is not who I'm going to be. It's impossible. I can't achieve this. I can't do this. Never going to happen for me. So if the person is sort of that persuasion, then I think having those outside influences, somebody to kind of extend a hand and be like, hey, you know, kind of get out of yourself here. You know, let's get this done. I think there's a part of that's important, but I do think it starts from within. Whatever that truth is, whatever that goal is, whatever that, you know, person that you want to become, it's got to start with you.
Right.
And then I think surrounding yourself with good people,
Yeah.
people who have, you know, the same mindset, people who might counterbalance you a little bit.
Right.
You know, if you're an introvert, you know, being best friends with an extrovert's not a terrible thing.
Right. Right. Right.
So, you know, and vice versa.
Right.
So I think it's both. I do
Right.
think it's both. We need that
Yeah.
community around us in addition to what, you know, we ourselves, you know, can achieve on our own.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes we need that challenge too to our assertions about ourselves. You know,
Yep.
I think a lot of times people fail because they have too many yes men or yes women around them.
Mhm.
When you know, I always laugh when friends of mine are saying like, "Oh, I don't want to be around that person." They always disagree with me. I'm like, wait a second, that could be a good thing. I mean, you don't want everybody always telling you, yeah, you're the greatest or this or that. I mean, it's
Mhm.
I think there's some value in someone saying, "No, I think you're wrong. I don't think you're this. I think you're that."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
pro or con like that. You know, I tell a story of when I was working at a pharmacy and one of the cashiers, this woman, I wasn't going after high school. I was kind of just drifting, and she's like, you know, why don't you take a college course? And no, I'm not. I said, Marianne, I'm not smart enough. College is not for me. She said, just do it, just do it, just do it. Talking about pivotal moments. Anyways, my point is, she challenged my assertion of me that I didn't think I was smart enough. I didn't think I was good enough to go to college. She challenged me where maybe others would have said, yeah, I don't go to college, you know, whatever. So her challenging me, shining my core truth or making me
mhm.
examine my core truth led me all the way to graduate school just from that
Amazing.
small, tiny conversation. Again, going back to those pivotal moments. It wasn't a huge
Mhm.
moment, but it was
Right.
a tiny little pivotal moment. And she shined that mirror or she disagreed with me.
Mhm.
And, you know, not many people have that sometimes in their life. I'm not saying to crap on people, but,
Right.
you know, to say, hey, honey, I think maybe this or that. I mean,
Mhm.
so, and I think this is what your book kind of gets to is that right, should I talk to this person on the bench, or the vampire wants to see the sun? You know, these are things that are counter to what they know or should do.
Mhm.
And it's not
Yeah.
that it's illegal or anything like that, but yeah, these core truths, so very, very powerful. And I would recommend everybody go out and get the book because it has to do with you, the viewer. It has to do with me. It's us. It's what makes us healthy and wealthy, not money wise, but wealth in our lives, in our relationships. And that's, I think, what your book, Core Truths, really gets right to, laser pinpoint. You know, it's about us, really. But the stories obviously are fictional, but it's
Mhm.
metaphoric, you know. So in closing, Lisa, is there anything else that you want to share about this? Because I'm excited about this book. So
Yeah, I'm thrilled that it's out there in the world. And you know, this is many years, big labor of love putting it all together. And you know, I hope anybody who reads it, I hope you enjoy it. I hope you know, you give yourself the opportunity to put yourself in the character's shoes and really think about, well, you know, if I were in this circumstance, would I do the same thing? You
yeah,
know, would I take that same path? And that's, and that's really what it's all about. Fiction, whether it's speculative fiction, literary fiction, it's all about what it means to be human. Going back to your initial commentary about people don't read, and it is very frustrating to me. And I get it from my own kids. Why do I have to read this book? I don't want to do this. I don't want to. This is stupid. No, it's not stupid. It's not stupid. Yes, it's not going to teach you the ins and outs of something scientific. It's not going to teach you how to do algebra. It's not. But it's going to make you think about what it means to be a person. It's going to give you empathy, have you learn how to be an empathetic person. And that's so lacking right now in our world. Just the lack of empathy, just the lack of humanity. And that's why I think, reading, whether it's, these are short stories, this isn't a full-blown novel, whether it's short stories, whether it's a novel, think about movies, how you feel when you come out of a movie. The book is always better than the movie.
100%. Yeah.
Couple exceptions, little exceptions, but 99% of the time the book is better than the movie. Why? Because it enables you to dig deep. And that's really what this is all about.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And this right here, between our ears is more powerful and more imaginative and just more amazing than any movie or television. That's why, reading the book's always better, because it's our brain that's engaging at a level that you can't get from television or radio, and as great as those are, but yeah. And also, so folks, I'm going to put the link to Core Truths. You can get it on Amazon. I purchased the paperback because I love the feel of paper, but you can get it digitally also. So I'll put the link down below on the channel. So check it out. Go out there, go get the book. Lisa, I appreciate you making time on Wellness Week. And,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I can't wait to read the book. So thank you, everybody. Hey, check back in. We got another bunch of great shows coming up, and I'm going to sign us off. Thanks, everybody. Signing off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.